Marcus Hedges, an outstanding game composer based in Brighton here in the UK. He has beautifully crafted the music for titles such as RE and the Secret of Seasons, Override 2, and one of his latest projects, Century Age of Ashes, which will be released on December 2nd this year. He is also well known for his exciting orchestral arrangements with the Marcus Hedges Trend Orchestra, with several 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I'm extremely happy to be having this chat with my good friend, Marcus, covering all things music, composing, and life. And when not toiling away in the studio, he can be found accomplishing with great aplomb a diverse range of hobbies, from grappling with other humans and sharing all sorts of bodily pain in MMA to crafting exquisite crochet doilies for his Aunt Jemima to sell on Etsy. Marcus, hello.
Hello, John. Thanks for that wonderfully complimentary and mildly off-piste introduction there. I think it's probably worth me saying that I don't crochet, but strongly considering it now.
But you do bruise yourself a bit on the MMA stuff, don't you?
Yeah. The MMA stuff and the grappling stuff is accurate. It's a good contrast in contrast in between, sitting in front of the piano all day and sitting in the studio all day, pretty sedentary. It does. I mean, my desk does go into a standing position and stuff now, as you well know, because you helped me put it together. But sometimes, like you need to go and be a bit active in complete contrast to spending hours either stood in the same place or sat in the same place. So, I do enjoy doing that.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, I've often heard tales of you go, oh, my ribs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part and parcel.
Well, congratulations on the imminent release of Century, Age of Ashes.
Thank you.
What can people expect to hear from your music as they're flying around on those fantastic looking dragons?
Oh, man. So what can they expect from the music? So the sort of Century world that Playwing has crafted is, very sort of reminiscent, I think, a little bit of Game of Thrones, a little bit of that kind of style, that medieval vibes. But it's a fantasy, setting. So when it comes to the music, I think it was good for me because, the world doesn't exist in the real world. So I got to sort of, fuse a couple of different styles that I felt would work nicely together to sort of portray this world. So you got everything in there from kind of like, the foundation of it is your normal sort of symphony orchestra. And then you've got like these, what I like to call sort of flavors, to kind of spice it up a bit and give it its own identity. So you got some like Nordic vibes in there. There's Taggle harper in there, which is like a 3-stringed or 4-string bowed lyre. It's kind of really dissonant and scratchy. Got Celtic vibes in there. You've got a full male choir, which has come to be one of the main characteristics. I didn't intend for it to be that way, but as I learned more about the game and I wrote more music for the game, it kind of like, I just loved how like menacing and impactful these it's all low voiced male singers. So they're kind of chanting and stuff. And I like to think of, sort of grew attached to this concept of perhaps these male singers are like the sort of fallen dragon riders from past games and stuff like that. So yeah, there's all sorts in there, all sorts.
What about themes for you putting in there?
Themes. So I mean,
you have one main one, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I do. I wrote the main theme first,
How does that go? Come on.
You're not gonna make me.
Yeah,
It
come on.
goes. It goes. Da 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 da.
Yes.
I should have referenced that. I don't. It's not pitch perfect, but I don't have perfect pitch. But yeah, I mean that is the kind of, I don't know, sonic identity, main motif, whatever you want to call it, of Century. And I wrote, outside of the main theme, I wrote more tracks for the game, for the different game modes. And though it's not at the forefront, you will hear that same motif hinted at throughout the rest of the themes as well. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like tie them together. They're all part of the same, experience, same story, as it were. So yeah, the main theme was kind of set the scene for the rest of them.
Have you taken it and developed or little hints of it throughout, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. So basically what I'll do, because, you settle on the main theme and you kind of settle on your palette for the rest of the soundtrack, providing the developer likes it. And moving past that, I would write a piece of music, within the same characteristics as the main theme. And then I would be like, oh, is there a way I can squeeze that motif in somewhere? Like whether it's in double time, whether it's only the first two notes, just so that people recognize sort of, this kind of sounds like it, but it's not it. Yeah, I definitely, it's kind of like, I don't know, like a little Easter egg in each track. I'll try and sneak it in somewhere.
Nice. I like that.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, fingers crossed. That's coming out, where are we?
December 2nd.
Which is only next week, because we're filming this on Friday.
Yeah, so. I can't believe it.
Amazing.
I actually can't believe it. It's,
well
I mean, it's just been like, it's the ideal project for me, because like I am somebody that would play this, regardless of whether I was writing the music or not. I love these kinds of games. So to have written music on it, played it myself with other people, and to be part of such a awesome team, now it's finally around the corner. I can't wait to see what everybody thinks and where it goes, because it's going to be free to play as well. So I think it will be interesting to see just how many people download it and those initial figures and all that kind of stuff. As with any release of any game, you're interested to see how it's received. So yeah.
And the beauty is you've also been able to test it playing it whilst you've written some music for it, hasn't it? I know you've said, I've just been playing it and it works so well, or I need to tweak this because it didn't quite. So
yeah, I mean, I've said to you before, I mean, I flew around the map on my own, because there was nobody playing it. When I was testing, it's a game that's hugely about playing against other people, and so I would just fly around the map on one of these really cool dragons, and that was satisfying enough for me, let alone when you chuck 6 other people on the other team against you and your team of 6, and it's just, you realize like the different I guess different types of rewarding nature of the game. Just flying is awesome, but then taking down one of the other team is hugely satisfying. The carnage of everything going on, and you have to think about that for I'm constantly considering that when I'm writing the music as well. And if I've written anything, then I have to go and think, okay, let's think about this in the context of, or even listen to it in the context of fighting against other people. I'm like, actually, sure, I should probably turn that up or turn that down or take that bit out. So yeah, it's cool.
Brilliant. Love it. Well, look forward to that coming out next week.
Yeah, me too. Cool.
Well, as a composer for what you do, what would you say are the most satisfying or rewarding parts of the creation process for you?
Satisfying and rewarding. Perhaps a bit obvious, but I think you write your piece of music, and I think there's a bit of intention. Well, there is intention in every bit of music that you write for any type of media, really. And a lot of the time, that's an emotion or a mood, or you're trying to get across a point. And I think one of the most satisfying aspects is when somebody, a listener, player, picks up on that, and picks up on it and says, "Oh, I liked it." That to me is something that I really enjoy. It's a lot of people have been commenting on during the beta process how much they enjoyed the 1 minute countdown music, and that originally was a 10-second piece of music, which we then changed to be 1 minute instead, to create a slower but more intense build towards time running out. And people are like, "Oh man, this is so epic, it makes me feel like I need to rush," and all this kind of stuff. And that's what I intended, so that makes me feel good. Which you can all, what any composer can really hope for, really, when it comes to music. So yeah.
Perfect. I like the sound of that. And what would be the most sort of challenging things that you find?
Challenging. Let me think. I think for me. Oh, okay. So for me, and this anyway, I have a really hard time with, and you're smiling already because you know what I'm going to say.
No, I have no idea.
I have a really hard time with letting something go and calling it done.
Do you?
Yeah. I have a really hard time letting it go, because it's like, and I think sometimes, to me, when I have I don't have a lot of time for the deadline, that can sometimes be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for me personally, because it means that I don't obsess. But yeah, sometimes if I have a lot of time that I'm working on a project, I can't resist what if I'd have done this differently, or maybe this I could change this up and it will sound better or more realistic, or whatever. And yeah, that's to my own detriment sometimes. It's time and stress that don't need to be spent. So I'm working on it, but I'm very aware of it.
I think as an artist, always just that moment of letting go, isn't it? It's like you can always tweak something.
It's part of the process, isn't it? I mean, you're similar in the way that you're a perfectionist. And
no, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's just it comes from a good place. It comes from wanting to do the best job that you can possibly do for whoever you're writing music for the game, for the project to be the best that it can be. And yes, it's a balance, isn't it? You got to have that balance of okay, now's the time that I let it go so that it can go and do its thing. So
it's interesting when you say that being under pressure helps, which I've never thought of, because I like to do the next day listen, or even the next week, and then it's that, yeah, I am happy with it.
Yeah, but then it goes past that, right? It's like if you've done the next day and the next week, but you've got that track that's got to be in 2 months' time, and you're like, I might just crack that open and have a quick little listen again. You're like, oh, I should have changed this, or and then before you know it, you've got an extra couple of versions in your folder, and
it creates even more hassles because you've got so many more to choose from.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good. But you got out and about a bit in Brighton, down the road from you, where you recently, was that a week or two ago, with the Develop Game Conference?
Yeah.
And how was that experience for you? Because I think that's the first time you've been out with a lot of people and, musician-based things since COVID.
Yeah. It was really nice, actually. I think in general, just anything like that, where you're connecting with, people that share common interests. I mean, we're all there for video games, really. We're part of the video game industry. So especially being a composer or whatever, you're you're kind of shut away in your little cave, and you don't actually see other people. So, and I've not experienced many of these before. So it was nice to have it just down the road from me. And it was 4 days long. And yeah, just saw lots of people having meetings, like preconceived meetings and stuff it was in the Hilton Hotel, and they have a nice bar area with lots of seating. So people were having meetings, and then later on in the day, everybody would meet in the bar for drinks, and there would be like after parties and bits and bobs as well, which is where all the fun stuff happened. Really, like it's everybody's having a beer or whatever, and just chatting about what they're doing and what their interests are, and it was just nice to be amongst other like-minded people, and people that I've met on Twitter that I've never actually met in person. Again, which was nice. You realize that they're not just a Twitter profile picture; they're actually a real person.
They do exist.
Yeah, so it was good, man. I definitely will. 100%. I'll be going next year and thereafter, and probably try and make a little bit more of an effort to go further afield as well.
It's so important just to be in person, isn't it, to make those connections?
Yeah, absolutely.
As you've progressed through each of your sort of projects, what have been some of your sort of memorable experiences, or things that you can look back now and sort of that was wonderful, and I hit that on the nail, or hit that on the head rather.
Hit that nail on the head. Yeah,
on the head. That's the one. Yeah.
Memorable experiences. Can you give me an example? What do you mean?
Well, what did you achieve something where you just thought, or whether it's the first, even when you receive your first game copy, because I remember you had your hard copy.
That was a big deal. I think, my first game project was Ari and the Secret of Seasons. And things, the dev process is pretty, comes with its kind of curveballs and stuff. And I ended up with really not that much time to do quite a lot of music. And I wanted to do it a certain way. And so I had like two months to do like between like 35 pieces of music. And I wanted to do it orchestral, and I wanted to deliver that amount. And I think, I don't know how, I don't know how I wrote that much music in such a short space of time, but I don't know, managed to pull it out of the bag a little bit. And I was really proud of that, because it was, it was a big deal to me. It was my first game, and I really wanted to do what I said I was going to do, even though I didn't have that much time to do it. And yeah, like you say, getting that actual physical copy of Ari and the Secret Seasons in like a Nintendo case, in a PlayStation case, was a huge deal to me, because I'm as you know, I'm a gamer, always have been. So to see something I contributed to in and around those logos and stuff it was a big deal. So yeah,
I think you put a picture on social stuff where you were in the shop, were you?
Yeah, I found
you saw your own
it.
game.
Yeah, that was huge. I don't know why that didn't jump to mind actually, because it was a huge deal. Like me and my girlfriend, we went into Game, which is like, somewhere I've been going to buy my video games and stuff since I was a kid, and then we looked for it, and it was there. It was like, it's pretty surreal. So yeah, it's cool.
Perfect. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, your music style, like you say, you do often go for sort of that full orchestral writing, but you do infuse with synths and sound design, which very often, if I'm listening to what you do, I'm like, what the hell was that? There's little gems that you put in. So it's sort of, what's your process and what do you use? Are you purely in the box with synths, or do you record stuff yourself? What's that sort of process?
Yeah, that's so I realized a while back that a lot of the composers who I thought were just orchestral were actually there. I mean, there was a lot of synths and stuff backing up that orchestra and adding extra that, you know, even if they were in there quite obviously, I didn't necessarily notice because I was focused on the orchestra, but I realized that these synths were adding quite a lot to the overall experience. And so I'm by no means a synth guy. Like when it comes to jumping into synths and knowing exactly what you're doing, I'm not that dude. But you know, it's what I've come to realize is, like, for me, it's I just sort of trust my ears in that respect. So I'll twiddle around with things and I'll get a sound that I'm happy with, and I'll layer those in. So there's that, and then on top of that, I like to kind of use instruments that are organic, and then and I'll shove a load of effects on those and see how crazy, sort of weird and wonderful that I can get those sounding, because I think it's cool to think of them coming from like an organic start point, and seeing, you know, like an example would be the Taggle harper in Century. There's a couple of them in there, and one of them is like distorted, reverb, delayed, all this kind of stuff, and it just kind of sounds like a really strange, sort of harsh guitar almost. And I just, it's kind of, I like messing around with plugins and stuff too. So dot those in there.
What about the synths, or your favorite synths and plug-in effects as well? Have you got just sort of your top one or two that you'd say, those come to mind?
Well, I love I've got you to thank for this, but I do love the Sound Toys stuff. I use it pretty much on everything. I bought their bundle a while back, so I've got more or less everything. I mean, I haven't looked since, but I've got like a whole bunch of those, but I just think they're so good, just for, you know, changing up the sound. And seeing where you can take it to, and then synth wise, I'm slowly getting to grips with Zebra 2, and I love all of Heaviosity's stuff, like Gravity and Damage and stuff as well. They're a little bit more friendly, I think, when it comes to user interface. I mean, I definitely found them easier to understand than I did Zebra. I opened Zebra and I was like, oh, where do I start? You know, but Heaviosity stuff I use quite prominently as well. So, right. Yeah.
And how would you sum up your orchestral samples side? Have you got one company that's your main? Have you got a mix? What?
Yeah. Well, it did used to be Spitfire Audio was what I used predominantly for ages. It's only the last couple of years that I think it's because I've become more aware of the kind of sound that I want. It's kind of developed, and I think that sometimes different libraries offer different types of sound, don't they? And it's how you combine them also. So I mean, it's a combination of all the big ones, really. You know, I use some Spitfire because I like some of the Spitfire strings, but then I really like Cinematic Studios brass, and I really like, Berlin Orchestral Tools is Berlin woodwinds. So yeah, it's a combination of them all, and getting them to sort of sound like they're in the same room, you know.
Yeah, that's the tricky bit. But adding very often embellishes the whole overall sound, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it makes it richer. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, going on to what I saw, some footage of a recent new game that's coming up. I was blown away by the visuals, which you start looking at it and going, is that real? Is it not real? I think that was the Unreal Engine.
Yes.
Is that what that's
Yeah.
called? But that it's so good now that they really are becoming films in their own mind. But what, from somebody who's not a gamer, but and I don't write for games, but what's the difference for writing for film versus writing for games? Because it's basically the same, or especially when people are recording big orchestras now.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the process that's different between the two?
So, like, I guess it's a good question. When I think of film, I think of kind of static, linear stuff that has to kind of underline a hit, or make a hit point, like hit a certain point. Whereas I think video game stuff, I think it's an overall mood, it's an overall atmosphere that you're trying to create that's quite dynamic. When it comes to video game music, it has to link, it has to loop rather, it has to be able to link to whatever comes after it. So you're thinking about consistency of, how is this going to react with how the player, the choices and the actions that the player makes. It's that kind of dynamicism that I think is a key difference between that and film music.
And is that more stressful or freeing, that you're not having, whereas a film you can map it out and say I must hit here and here, but you don't know where your music is going to work?
Yeah, that's a solid point. I think you could look at it both ways, couldn't you? Because it's like, like you don't have to, in film music, you don't have to worry about that loop point and what does it feel like if it gets too tiresome, if it goes round and round and round. But yeah, in video game music, you do have those couple of minutes to sort of kind of do what you want, because there isn't going to be a hit point. For hit points and stuff, we do things called stingers, which are implemented in the game. They're just, short snippets of music that are, an audio programmer will implement, and it will, whatever the player does, it will trigger at that point. So yeah, you could look at it both ways. You could.
Cool. No, I like that. With the solitary occupation as a composer, or anything in the studio, you're starting more and more to collaborate, I suppose, adding session musicians into the mix. And how have you found that process, working with them, finding the people, and just how have you felt that it's really brought on your music now that you've added that in?
Yeah, I feel like I was maybe a little bit late to the party with this side of things, because you've got to have the budget for it anyway. But yeah, I recently kind of kicked it up a gear with the experimentation of it, and saying, no, actually I'm gonna try and get a good amount of live players into my session. And a good example would be the Wind Waker orchestrated album that I did for the Trend Orchestra, and which you mastered, so you know it well. But that was like a real big experiment for me to kind of see how much further live players could push the kind of performance element of these orchestral pieces, because to get that whole album recorded by a full orchestra would have cost, well, it would have cost a lot of money that a good amount of money that I didn't have. So it's like, you've got to try and figure ways around this. And so I started reaching out to some soloists, because I thought, let's see what just getting a real flute line put in. Let's see what that sounds like. And that was the first thing I got in there, actually. I reached out to Emma Kramer-Roger, and she's a hugely talented flautist and flautist. She sent the the flute parts over, and I was like blown away. I was like, instantly, I was like, okay, I spent forever and a day trying to program this to sound half decent, and it doesn't sound anywhere near as good as what she's fired over within the space of, you know, a couple of hours. And so from there on, I was like, I need to be doing more of this. So got some, you know, solo violin, like a cellist, and worked all those into the album. And it was, yeah, I haven't looked back really. If ever there's an opportunity where I can get a soloist in to replace, you know, or even layer on top of some of those orchestral sample instruments, I'll do it. Yeah, it's been a massive game changer for me, and something that, and I've made some great connections with some really talented musicians as well. So I think, yeah, having that kind of that network of people that you build around yourself is only going to be beneficial further down the line, especially as more projects come in and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It does really make such a difference, doesn't it? If you can, yeah, do it. Or even learn an instrument yourself so you can add that.
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
You've also did with your graphic art for the album or single covers as well. I remember it was Hedges.
Yes. Yeah.
That you could look at that. It is just a beautiful work of art.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a massive fan of. Of fan art, because I kind of feel like fan art is kind of a very similar. It's a very similar thing to kind of what I do with the Trend Orchestra. You know, the orchestral covers, they're like orchestral reimaginings of other music, and these fan art things, these fan art pieces are visual or, you know, artistic re-representations of stuff that's not in the same style. So doing the Hades album, you know, it's come from like quite a rocky place to something quite orchestral and stuff. And so with the album cover, the artist did a real realistic representation of what that sort of quite cartoony place, which is actually the halls of Hades. And yeah, incredible job. Yeah, really pleased with that.
Fantastic. It just makes all the whole process
of
the effort and work that you put in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of it. You know, I've done the music, I'm like, good. Now we can, you know, now I can have a look at, you know, what artists will work. Because I enjoy that part of the process as well, you know, brainstorming with those guys what will look cool. So nice. Yeah.
Well, talking of the Marcus Hedges Trend Orchestra.
Yeah.
Must ask you about that name. But the website description says, I'll do my radio voice. The Trend Orchestra creates cinematic covers of your most nostalgic video game soundtracks and your favorite TV series themes. And I've just done a quick count on your Spotify. I hope I get this right, but it looks like you've got 45 singles and EPs and 10 albums on there as well.
Have I?
That's one heck of a lot of work. And has the Trend Orchestra become what you envisaged it?
Envisaged.
Yes.
No, because I started doing it in 2012, and it came from a real sort of genuine place, because one day I was like, I haven't listened to because Zelda Ocarina of Time is my favorite game, and I was like, I haven't listened to the Zelda music for years, you know, since I was a kid. I really want to listen to it. Then I listened to it, and I was like, and I'd just come out of university by this point with my music, my commercial composition degree, and I was like, you know, what do I do with it? And I wanted to do some music, and so I was like, I'm going to see if I can use what very little plugins I had at the time. I think I had one plugin, and it was the East-West Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra or whatever. And I was like, I want to see if I can make one of these. And so I made this really small album. I mean, it can't have been, it was like 10 minutes of music, if that. And then I got it, I managed to get it licensed, which was a pain, and did my own little artwork, and I put it out there, and then nothing came of it, for the first month or two. I think I maybe earned like $10 or something. But after a couple of months passed, I came back, and I was like, and I saw that it had a good substantial amount of like traction, like people were listening to it, and I was like, I'll do another one, and then I did another one, and then I just loved the process, and now people are still listening, but it's there's just a lot more of them doing it more often, and I could have never have imagined that however many hundreds of thousands of people would tune in, would listen to my stuff every month. I would have never called that, especially if you'd have said that to me, starting out in 2012. So, like, amazing that it has got to where it's got to. I'm like, feel so lucky to be able to still do it as well. I still love doing it. Because, like I say, it comes from a very genuine love for video game music and the kind of games that I've played, and so yeah.
And the process being, because you do it by ear, don't you? I think, whereas you're literally listening to it and then you just get going.
Yeah.
I'd have to order the music and do it that way.
Right.
It's an amazing skill to be able to do it like that.
Yeah. I've always, when I was learning, I started piano when I was maybe 7. It's just like classically trained pianist, but like I really struggle. I'm still not great at reading music now. I can read music, but I would always struggle to read it. But I would always listen to try and replicate whatever my piano teacher was doing. And, I would pretend to read it, and he'd be like, right, we'll do these 4 bars, and I get it wrong, and he'd be like, okay, you're missing your C sharp or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, can you just quickly show me? And then he'd show me, and then I'd copy it. But he did eventually cotton on and try and push me in the direction of reading music and stuff. But yeah, I think like early age, I developed a pretty decent ear for music. For being able to listen to it and replicate on. I used to play like all this sort of chart music for my friends. I used to listen to it and then figure it out at school, and it was a little bit of a crowd pleaser. But I work well that way, I think.
Amazing. Nice. It really is just amazing what you do. So.
Oh, thank you.
And the Trend Orchestra. Why the Trend Orchestra?
The Trend Orchestra. So I was trying to think of like a good way to encapsulate what I do, and I was trying to think like I'm kind of like I'm choosing. I'm going down a route that's like a specific game. I'm taking on a certain trend of music. I'm doing this thing. So whatever game is an example. Like I did a Hedges album recently, and it's super popular, and so I'm gonna go and explore that trend for a bit. You know what I mean? And I've done some film stuff as some TV series that I've really enjoyed, and I'm like, oh, that's what people are absolutely loving at the moment. I really enjoyed it myself. I'm gonna jump on that trend for a bit. And it's the same with video games. It's like perhaps I'm gonna explore the a sort of trend of covers that are like early retro video games specific to the Nintendo 64 or whatever, or like Super Nintendo or something. It's more like if that makes sense, hopefully.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, showing my age here, I began my very limited gaming experience, the heady quality of a Philips G7000, which is this weird touchpad cartridge and had a couple of joysticks things.
Right.
Don't laugh.
Okay.
And Commodore 64. That shows you how long that was. But what gear did you start playing on that really got this gaming vibe of your life going?
What did I start on? The first console I had, my dad brought home from the car boot in like a Tesco bag, in like a Tesco carrier bag. And he was like, it was a Sega Master System. And yeah, it had Sonic built into it. And like me and my brother like absolutely loved it. And so, yeah, from there on, we sort of, we got loads of extra cartridges for the game, and we played all sorts on there, really. And I think that's where the obsession began, because from there we got the Super Nintendo, and then we got I think we went from there to the Nintendo 64 and PS1, and yeah, we were definitely, we lived for games, me and my brother. But
were you competitive with that?
I don't know. We weren't. It was very cooperative, actually. We the story games. He would often sit and watch me play because he was 3.5 years younger than me. So I knew how to do stuff. But we would share that Nostalgia 64 album that I did for the Trend Orchestra. The album cover of that is a really sort of realistic portrayal. That's supposed to be me and my brother playing the game. Yeah, it's my most nostalgic console, that one, the Nintendo 64. So yeah, it was never competitive. We would always work together, or he'd be egging me on whilst I was trying to complete it. But yeah, it's cool. It was. Yeah, definitely started at the Master System and then didn't stop, really.
What have been your sort of favorite games to play this year, and what are you looking forward to next year?
Yeah, favorite games this year. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I got the PS5, but because of the pandemic and stuff, not many games were released for it, so there was not a huge amount to play. So, I mean, I've been playing nothing new, really. Actually, that said, ignore the PS5 for now. I played Hades by Supergiant Games on the Switch. I haven't really played my Switch that often, but I couldn't put that one down. So that was really, really good. And I wasn't expecting it either. Like, I saw it was there. I don't have many games for Switch. I'll grab this one. Yeah, it was hugely satisfying. Definitely worthy of the awards and stuff that it's got. Then as for next year, I think they're targeting God of War, Ragnarok for next year. Breath of the Wild 2. Both those games I'm super psyched for, because I loved the first ones. Right. So yeah, sitting here patiently waiting.
Well, patiently. I've had the pleasure of working with you for a few years now, and seeing the huge pressure that you can be under whilst having to write so much music, and particularly very often in a short amount of time. But also the creative process in general can be extremely demanding. So what do you do to handle that for your mind, body, and health?
So
I mean, we touched on it earlier a bit with getting out walking and
yeah. So I mean, that's exactly it, isn't it? So for me, and I'm speaking from experience, I have done this both ways. I've sat in the studio all day, stressing out, trying to get some music done, and have managed, 4 to 8 bars of something I'm really not that happy with. And I force myself to sit there because I'm like, you need to do something in order to feel productive. And the next day, I've, come back with fresh ears and, a more positive attitude. And I've written, a minute and a half of music within the morning, and it's that example is something that has happened, that probably happened too many times than I care to admit, before I realized that actually, if it's not working, don't force it, because like creativity is this kind of organic thing, and you need to be kind of borderline relaxed. Some people feed off the intensity a little bit of trying to reach a deadline, but I think you can do both. I think you can still be in a good place and feel like the imminent approaching of a deadline. But it's like, if you're not getting anything down, don't stress about it. Don't sit there and try. Get up, go for a walk, go to the gym, go do some grappling. Like do something that's just going to be like get your mind into a different place, so that you can revisit it later, anew. So it's definitely one of the key things I would recommend, just to keep yourself sane. And you want to be happy when you're doing this. You got to enjoy the process, haven't you? So that's definitely something. I get out, I go for a walk, and I will I'll go to the gym, or I will go to grappling. And it's done me the world of good, for sure.
Good. And I suppose just taking regular breaks for the brain, but I would say also for the ears. Not so much when you're writing, I suppose, because you're not trying to listen and mix, but that's another bit where an hour or two, and then
absolutely
have a good break.
And you've got lots of you live right out in the lovely forest and stuff, so you can get outside and go and
have a walk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got so many nice places to walk around you as well. I live right by the sea, so for me, I'll go straight down to the seafront, and something really comforting about that big open space. Seeing the sea and stuff. It's like,
you did do a couple of swims this year as well.
I did do a couple of
Braved
swims.
it.
Yeah, brave. Yeah, it was not warm.
Wim Hof time.
Yeah, exactly. Channel my inner Wim Hof. But yeah, nothing wakes you up more than that. I'll tell you that. But yeah.
And what are you grateful for today?
Grateful for today. Ooh. Grateful for, I don't know, just being able to do what I enjoy doing. I think over the recent past, I've I actually feel like I'm supposed to be doing this, which isn't, for anybody that's listening that sometimes thinks like, am I doing the right thing here? Like that does cross your mind every now and again. But yeah, I feel grateful to sort of, be enjoying the process so much, and just being overall, got nice people around me, got good friends, and a lovely girlfriend and stuff. Yeah, it's I can't complain. Life is good.
Good. We like that. Well, you've got earlier, a few months ago, I think, where you popped up to London to have your ears tested and to have some super duper earplugs to protect your hearing.
Yes.
What was that experience like, and how would you recommend it?
I mean, again, looking at, I mean, our ears are our instruments, really, aren't they? They're our livelihood. And I mean, I was always aware of that. I need to look after my ears, and then obviously you put me on to the fact that maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to that. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to actually just how loud it was in certain environments and what that could actually do. And so I bought myself some, can't remember what they're called. I think they're called they're like consumer ear plugs. Bought some of those. They were like eggs. I want to say eggs. And when I started using those in situations where I felt a bit uncomfortable, or a bit like, I should be paying attention to how much, what this is doing to my hearing, I realized like, oh, I need some proper ones of these. And then I found what are they called? I can't remember the name of the, it's a scheme, musicians health, hearing health, I think it was called.
Okay.
If there's a description for this video, you'll have to stick a link in the description or whatever. But yeah, I got a full hearing test and some really high quality custom earplugs molded, specifically to my. Yeah, they did. They're like weird sort of green gunge that goes in your ear and like sort of deafens you for a little bit, and you're like, okay, you're gonna take this out now. But yeah, I got all of that for 40 quid. And I think if you're a member of, the MU, maybe the MU.
Was it just proving that you're a musician? Was it?
Yeah, all you got to do is prove that you musician, like writing music or performing is your job. Then yeah, you can get this scheme. So it's 40 quid for me. I think if you're a member of the MU, you get it for like 30 quid. But all of the stuff that you get is worth well over 250 quid, and which is insane. And it's on Harley Street. It's a really lovely area, a real nice place. And yeah, I've got these custom earplugs now, which makes me feel a lot more like just comforted, I think.
And
especially
are you using them?
Yes, I am using them. Yes. Going to gigs and stuff. Especially if you go into any clubs or whatever. It's just so much more of an enjoyable experience as well. You can enjoy the music. You still obviously get hit in the chest with the bass and all that. You're just not grimacing every time that happens, or you're not having, your ears ring for the next day or two. So yeah, I will never not want to wear them now. As much as my friends take the piss, it's like, oh, here comes Mark. Yeah. Marcus is getting his earplugs out again. I'm like, what? Whatever. Fine. I don't care.
But it's amazing. After a loud gig, you take them out and you can hear.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's one of paramount to me for sure.
And another composer, Marianne Fisher. I don't know if you saw it, but she put a video. Did you see the animation of the ear?
No, I didn't know.
Amazing thing. I must try and find that as well. Yeah, so detailed, and how the spiral side of it and the tiny little hairs all pick up the different frequencies.
Exactly. Something so intricate you got to look after.
It's about this big, and that's what we rely on. So yeah, need to protect it.
It's true.
Talking of sound, you have treated your room. I think this is this year or last year. You put some sound treatment up. What would you say is? What was that experience of going to that? And what was the difference for you? I was maybe a little late to the party. I mean, I mix predominantly on my headphones. I always have. I've always lived in flats, and quite conscious of annoying neighbours and bits and bobs. So I try and keep out loud stuff to a minimum. But I bought some decent monitors. I got the Yamaha HS5s, and I love them. They were great. But then I thought, I probably should try and treat this room if I'm playing them out loud every now and again. So I got some panels from GIK Acoustics. GIK, whatever. I ordered some panels from there. I ordered some panels to treat the room, and we only did like the. John very kindly helped me put these up, but we did the immediate walls, the immediate reflection points, and I think that it improved the sound of the monitors, the Yamahas, by double. I think it was like I had new speakers. That's how much of a difference it made, and it made me realize, like, moving forwards, if I ever move to a new space, that's gonna be top of the list. Like, treat the room as best you can,
I've only got these 4 panels up, and you can hear the sound kind of deaden a little bit as you move your ears between the two things. It makes a huge difference. So I would recommend it.
Makes a big difference because we do spend quite a chunk on gear or software, and actually it can be slightly expensive if you're buying ready-made, but you can make your own as well. But whichever route you do, it's a huge investment, and it's not like software that's going to be outdated in a couple of years. It'll last you 10, 20 years.
Well, exactly. I mean, it can be done. You can make your own to a good standard as well. Like you made all of yours, and you wouldn't know. You're a handy guy as well, so you're good at that kind of stuff. It does make the world a difference. I was actually surprised. I wasn't ready for how much of a difference it would make. So, yeah.
Cool. Right, quick question time.
Oh no.
Toy Story or How to Train Your Dragon, which is the best film and or soundtrack?
This is because this is a question that only you could ask me because you know me so well. So, Toy Story being my favorite film of all time, and then How to Train Your Dragon. John Powell's one of my favorite composers, and How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack is like one of my favorites. I think it's like my favorite soundtrack. So I'm like, it's kind of a mean question, John.
I'm a mean kind of guy.
Oh crap. So I mean, film wise, Toy Story takes it. Purely on nostalgia alone. Soundtrack wise, I have to pick John Powell's work on How to Train Your Dragon. It's like that's some goals right there. If I'm allowed to do that, I don't know if I could pick one without. I don't know if I could pick just one. You know what I mean? In that respect.
I did say what was the question? Phil, which is the best film and or soundtrack? So you could possibly pick the film and then the other one for the soundtrack.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Otherwise, I'll spontaneously combust trying to decide.
There was a tweet by Michael Crine the other day.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember when he put it out, but he said, I'm doing VGM, so video game music, for a reason. Some of the best scores in any genre I've heard over the past 10 years, more maybe, have been for games. It's such a shame they're still being overlooked. For starters, check out Gareth Coker's utterly enchanting score for the Ori series.
Yes.
And that was in a response to a guy called Jesse Harlin, looks at. The Grammy nominations were announced today, and while the press will chat about what's on the list, you should know what's not on the list. And he mentioned Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
It's whereas your favorites, we've got these film composers, but more and more game composers are coming out now. And have you heard Ori? Is that something that you've listened to?
Yeah. Oh man, I've listened to that soundtrack countless times. I love Gareth's work. The Ori and the Blind Forest, and the second game, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Just a good solid word for it is enchanting. It is very, very satisfying to listen. There's so much emotion in there. So much emotion. So if you haven't listened to that, I would highly recommend going to listen to that. And I think is a point to be made that people are realizing about video game music. I think that it's definitely creeping up the ranks in terms of getting in front of people and being celebrated. It's by no means on the same, level as film music yet, but as we're realizing that these games are becoming higher and higher budget, closer to film budgets, it's only a matter of time, really. But yeah, I'll listen to game soundtracks that I have for games that I haven't played, multiple times. I've listened to Ghost of Tsushima, tough one to say, but great to listen to. It's incredible soundtrack, and it will make when I get the time, I will play it. And another one I want to recommend, actually, while we're on the subject, I played. It's been out for a while. It's called Detroit Become Human, and it's a story-driven game. It's a lot of like multiple choice things. So you kind of steer the story, and there are multiple endings as well. So like one thing you do might take you on a different pathway towards the end of the game. It's one of the best games I think I've ever played. But the music in that is insane. And whenever I go back to it and whenever I listen to it, it takes me back to all of these moments in the game where you're like struggling to make the right decision, or you've made the wrong decision and you're on a path that you can't turn back from. Again, really lovely sort of kind of haunting emotional piano and stuff in there that, it's brilliant.
Well, talking of Michael Crine, just back there, who is an efficiency guru. I think he uses everything.
He loves it. He loves a good efficiency. He does love that kind of stuff. I always know if I post anything about saving time, he's on it.
It's just like, what you use it. What's that? But what do you use in your workflow? Because there's so much that we have to do now. What makes your workflow more efficient, gadget wise or software?
So it's an obvious one, but I try and have like a hotkey for anything that I'm using, more than a couple of times, because it's like, if you can save a second, but you use that button hundreds of times a day, you're saving literal hours of your life. And so I think it's important to do. So I have a lot of key commands, and then that in combination with the Stream Deck, which has kind of evolved with the amount of time that I've used it. I'm like, because what the Stream Deck can do is it can do a chain of commands. And so I have a button for, like if I've been recording, it will go back to the beginning. It will undo, go back to the beginning, and record again. So it does those 3 commands in just one button.
Nice.
And it's just things like that it's really good at, opening apps with just one push. It's like, right. And something really satisfying about having like, not having to click, you've got buttons in front of you that you can actually just push, which is, I find quite satisfying as well. And there is one other thing. There's a program that I've been kind of trialing for a little while that has I couldn't really live without now, and it's called I've got it in front of me actually. Let me see. Patchboard. It's called Patchboard app, and basically what that does for people who work in big orchestral sessions, if I've got maybe 600 channels in my template. If you're trying to find a certain type of drum in amongst, 100 drums, you can lose 10 to 15 seconds each time you try and do that. And what Patchboard does, it essentially acts as like a software instrument, but it can recognize what your channels are called. And so you can type into Patchboard Tycho number 1, and it will match it, and then you click it and it selects that channel straight away. Unbelievably important to my workflow now. Like, it has saved me probably hours and hours, and I've only had it for a couple of months. So I'm still trialing it, and it can do so much more than what I'm using it for at the moment. You can have it on your iPad, and you can categorize things by like, I just want all my strings to show in Patchboard, so I can change between all my strings, or I only want my plucked strings to show. It's, the sky's the limit really. And it's developed by a guy called M.R. Miller, who's also a composer. And he did the soundtrack for Evergate. Hope I got that right. But yeah, it's kind of like by composers, for composers type thing. And hugely niche, but it's perfect for what I needed it for. So highly recommend checking that out.
Excellent. I think that's a good tip. Well, to wrap up, Is there anything else that you think you'd like to mention that we've missed? Or
I don't think so. Not really. Just obviously, if you like dragons and fighting to the death against a team of 6, then December the 2nd on Steam.
Be there.
Yeah, be there. Yeah, no, that's all really.
December the 2nd.
Very excited to be wrapping up
Cool.
on that and seeing what people think. So yeah.
And where is the best place for people to find you?
So my Twitter, my website. So Twitter, my handle is @TrendOrchestra, and then my website is marcushedges.com, all one word. You'll find all my Trend Orchestra stuff and all that kind of stuff on my website as well. So it's it's a good go-to
I'll
place.
put the links in for that.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I think we both enjoy about the music community is it is a very often sharing and generous and good people in there.
Yeah.
So on that line, and we do spend quite a bit of time on Twitter, have you got, say, 2 or 3 accounts that you would like to just give a shout out to and go?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like this. Because there is an active community on Twitter, isn't there? More so than I thought. And everybody's super nice and inspiring and friendly. And so I've met a couple of people on there. Daryl Lee Lin. He and I recently worked together on the opening medley for the Golden Joystick Awards. He took on the mammoth task of putting together a medley to celebrate 50 years of game music, and I worked with him on the kind of the ending finale bit. We did The Last of Us 2. So it was really cool to connect with him and sort of, I guess, put a face to the name to the Twitter profile. I don't know, just to speak to an actual person. He's a real sound
Lovely.
dude. So that's one. And then Colin McGuinness, again, somebody that, you sort of comment on people's work and, you're kind of all in the trenches together in the industry. And we actually met up for a beer. He's from Ireland originally, but he was over in Brighton on a bit of a holiday. And I was like, perfect, just down the road. He has probably the lowest voice I think I've ever heard. He does lots of amazing shanty covers where you'll hear that voice in full swing and plays lots of cool folk instruments and stuff. So yeah, he does some really inspiring stuff too.
Yeah, he's very much that low chest.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a low voice, but he has that.
I don't know. Yeah, really, like it goes low and then somehow just keeps going.
And then
lower.
it goes a bit lower. Yeah, don't know how he does it, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, they're cool. I mean, I was just thinking more of for me with who, because sometimes your timeline changes of who you see or interact with, doesn't it? But very often, I mean, the lovely Helen Lynch, who is a composer, but also I don't know how she shoves so much information in her head. She is just a generous mind of everything.
Agreed.
And it's she's a fantastic person to be following. And recently as well, Miriam Sternlicht, which I don't know if as long as I got that right. But yeah, another composer who you can follow some timelines, just think nice, really good. I think she teaches and as well, but fantastic. And it's just so lovely to be following and just having some chats with these people, isn't it? And supportive. That's the big thing, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. No, it's nice to know that, because obviously like quite solitary work, a lot of this, and it's nice to know that there's other people out there doing the same thing, that you can just chat to and show what you're working on and kind of celebrate wins with and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, it's like you're saying with Colin, because I think, it's tomorrow. The Spitfire Audio Walk that's in London. So hopefully I'm getting to actually meet Helen there.
Yeah. She did say she was going. I can't make it, unfortunately, which is annoying. I'm away, very typically. But one. I'll have to get the next one. I know that. They do them every now and again, don't they? So I'll have to peer pressure everybody else into coming to the one that I go to.
Yeah, we could do that.
I'll promise beers or something.
Oh, well, I'm in. I'll be there for you.
Yes, thank you, friend.
My pleasure. Well, on that wonderful note, thank you very much, Marcus. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And
likewise.
Yeah, lovely to have a good chat.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been really fun.
Brilliant. I'll see you soon. Probably tomorrow we'll have a chat or something. But yeah.
We speak both days.
We do. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.